Welcome everybody. This is This Week in AML. I'm John Byrne. I'm here with my colleague Tim White, and we thought we would mention something that happened earlier in the week that we found extremely interesting. It was an op-ed piece in the Washington Post on May 11th, written jointly by Danny Glazer and Hagar Chamali. Both are former Treasury Department officials. And it's the headline is, "It's time to get serious about sanctioning global white supremacist groups." So both of them go into detail regarding their view that this is something that should be actively considered. And they mentioned, Tim, up front, that the State Department had designated a white supremacist group from Russia, the Russian imperial movement, which I think you've seen. And then they go into, if we're doing that, we should also acknowledge the potential of doing that for other groups. What did you take away from this op-ed piece?
Well, John, I think it's very interesting. I think it's a direction that Treasury and state need to take a good hard look at. It runs in line with our efforts to counter terrorism, and it kind of runs as opposed to large terrorist groups necessarily, but more on the lone wolf side. And we've got these small pockets of right-wing extremists that are supporting violence against minorities and other hate crimes that they're trying to get facilitated. I think it's a great approach. I think we need to be doing it specifically under the lines of, it is certainly hate crimes, but it's a form of terrorism.
Right.
And I think there are some tracks there within the Treasury's OFAC department to, segue with their authorities counterterrorism and bring this kind of a perspective in line.
Yeah, the other part of the op-ed piece that struck me is they reference what's been a blight on our country for several years, that Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville that obviously just showed a gaping wound in our country that's so sad to think exists. But at the time, Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, released a statement, said that he intended to use Treasury's tools to target such groups. But as we all know, it has not yet happened. So what would be a reason to not pursue this domestically? It's one thing to go after supremacist organizations that have an international component. What do we think could be an issue doing it domestically?
Well, I think there's the first issue is the due process of law, that all U.S. citizens have that inalienable right. And one would have to make a correlation between a crime that has been committed and a degree of serious evidence in order to tie that crime back to the individuals that aided and abetted or supported those efforts. Along those same lines, you certainly saw in there where 40 members of Congress signed a letter to the State Department, identifying a number of right-wing extremist groups that they wanted to take a good hard look at. The thing that really jumped out to me, though, John, was that they identified a 320% increase in extreme right-wing attacks globally over the last 5 years. To me, that's evidence alone that we should be going down this path, that if nothing else, put a financial hurt on these organizations to try and bring this type of hate crime to an end.
Yeah, I agree. The piece ends with, it's really important to have a full-scale campaign to bankrupt these groups throughout the world and cut them off from the financial system. Again, an interesting take on sanctions. This is This Week in AML, and we will talk to you next time.